On to forwards then. And I think there's only really one place to start, isn't there, Jules? Haaland, Kane, which way are you going? Do we have to have one of them? Which one do we have to have?
Don't let me down now, Jules.
That has to be the debate right now in terms of the most expensive. They are the two most expensive. We said in the first preview that sometimes maybe you just wait and see for the new signing, even a Erling Haaland or even a Darwin Nunez in those big clubs, because they might just need a bit of time to settle. They might need, but you can bring them on now and just be patient, or you can wait a little bit and bring them on later, maybe after 1, 2, 3 games. I don't know. For me, obviously, with my relationship with Harry Kane, H, as I like to call him, of course, as we call each other, J and H. Kane is there. He's already my captain. You know how much I love him and how much faith I have got in him, even when he's rubbish. So he's there. But I would understand the Erling Haaland bandwagon, of course.
In the last 8 seasons, Kane has returned at least 17 Premier League goals. In the last 2 seasons, he's had 65 goal involvements.
Sam, let me just interject here. We knew you were going to go for Kane. We know he's got the stats, but have you guys got a little bit of not having Haaland fear?
Totally. The fear of 100%. Missing out is 100% real. Look, Haaland is a phenomenal player and he will only add to Man City's game. He will add to the appeal of KDB and all of these other players that we've been talking about. But you can't have everybody and you have to get used to the fear of missing out in FPL and maybe do a little bit of swapping around between them as the season goes.
Kane doesn't like August, does he? We know that. Never scores in August, George. You should know this. He's your mate.
Come on now.
You should know this about H. He's a slow burner.
I do know. I still take the risk. I take the gamble.
Sam, can you put your hands on your heart and tell me that this is, if Harry Kane didn't play for Spurs, would you still be going for Harry Kane over Haaland? I'm trying to kind of get like almost an impartial, if you put those two players next to each other.
I think if I wasn't a Spurs fan, I would still look at it and go, I think that Kane is still a really attractive option because of the way that Spurs have been in pre-season. I think last year going into the season, I was less, had it been Haaland versus Kane at the beginning of last year, I would have 100% been in the Haaland camp. But the way the feeling is, the signings that Spurs have made and the progress that they've come on the journey they've been on under Conte so far make him more attractive. I think if he was playing for Man City or Manchester United or Liverpool or Chelsea, I'd still think that the way that he's been performing, he's a better pick. He's Premier League proven in a way that Haaland isn't. I think Haaland will be as soon as we get started. I'm not for a minute suggesting he won't. I like the security of knowing that I've got one of the best Premier League strikers.
And you can flip between the two, can't you, at that price point as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was my original plan, was to have Kane for game week 1 and then switch to Haaland for game week 2. I know what will happen. I will not want to make the switch, but there is definitely the scope to move between them.
I'm the type of manager, again, that just hoped that one of them was 0.5 cheaper. So that would make the decision for me, because at the moment I'm just going between the two. Someone who there doesn't seem to be quite as much debate on at the moment, Gabriel Jesus, of course, now an Arsenal player. Adrian, currently the most popular asset in the game, and 8 million is quite a nice price, isn't it?
This is why he's the most popular asset, isn't it? Because 64% is it, I think, at the moment of players have him in their side. He's looked dynamite, I've got to say, in the friendlies. And I know that they're only friendlies, but he is the undisputed number one. He'll play pretty much all the minutes. And I think he will score goals. And I think that he will create goals. And I think he will be a real eye catcher. From what I've seen, he's going to relish being the main man. And he never was at Manchester City. You can question his finishing. I've looked up the stats and compared to the other guys that were high on the scoring charts last season, his conversion rate is mediocre. I think it was 18%. It's still higher than Harry Kane's.
What?
But over the course of the last 5 seasons, he's never achieved more than his expected goals. Like, he's never outperformed.
He keeps coming off the bench.
Yeah, but I think the underlying stats suggest he hasn't been a clinical finisher while he's been at Manchester City. Now, that does seem to have changed in pre-season at Arsenal, and he does seem to have really settled in nice and quickly. He's the player that I don't have in my draft at the moment, that I'm sitting there scratching my head as to how I'm going to find the budget to get up to him.
Yeah, when you consider the likes of Watkins at 7.5 and your Tonys and your Antonios, when you think that Jesus is only a tad bit more expensive, I think it's a real standout. So yeah, he's definitely in my team alongside Haaland. But I'm on the same point, really. I'm scared of Kane, of not having him. It's one or the other, and I might end up flitting between the two. For Dortmund, he scored goals at a rate of more than one per 90 minutes. That is phenomenal. In the Champions League, it's even better than that. So this kid is special, and Man City create just stacks of chances, don't they? I think it's frightening. The Golden Boot has been won with 22 or 23 goals in the last 4 seasons. I think he's going to smash that to smithereens. I really do. I think we're talking late 20s or 30. I think he's got that much potential in this City team.
Jules, outside of these 3 strikers, because it does feel like so many people are talking about Kane, Haaland, Jesus, you sent me over your draft. You've got Harry Kane and a Manchester United striker, namely Anthony Martial.
Yeah, I believe in Martial for this season. We mentioned about him a little bit in the first preview. He's been really amazing in those friendly matches. And again, it's only friendlies, but I think for what Ten Hag wants his number 9 to do and the way they're playing, he's perfect for that. And I think Ten Hag has seen that very, very quickly. He was very happy with him. I think he's going to play. I think he showed the goals that he scored and the assist that he's given. The last one for Rashford was magnificent the other day when they build up from the back. I think he's a perfect Ten Hag player, and I think Ten Hag is the perfect manager to resurrect his career in a way, because he hasn't been great, let's be honest, the last 2 seasons. So his price is 7 million. I think, again, it's a very, very, very interesting call.
Okay, so Martial's a little bit cheaper at 7, but we often need some cheaper strikers if we're going to have all of these Mo Salahs, Haalands, Kanes. Where else should we be looking? I mean,
I've got even Tony at the moment. He's in that 7 category. But if you want to go a little bit cheaper again, then of course there's Mitrovic coming up from the Championship. And,
are we going to go there?
Well, we might do, mightn't we? Because it saves that extra 0.5 on the likes of Martial and Tony. I mean, last time he played in the Premier League, he managed just 3 goals. He really did not have a very good season, but he did get 43 goals in the Championship last season. It's not bad at all, is it?
He's got a manager. I watched quite a lot of Fulham last year, and he's got a manager that now I think is playing to his strengths, understands him. He is that focal point of that team.
He'll play. He has to play this time.
And I don't think that Fulham are necessarily going to come into the Premier League and score that many goals. But when they do get goals, I would bet on Mitrovic being part of the goal scorers at that club. So, yes, he's going to not necessarily be up there with the Jesuses and the Harry Kanes and the Haalands of goal scoring. But exactly, Kelly. Even if he gets half of their points, well, he's half of their price. So it's worth it, I think, for me. He could be worth a little pump.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm going down a different route. I've spent too much money at the back, too much in midfield. My third striker will be a 4.5, and it's slim pickings, I've got to say, at the moment. You're looking at Sam Greenwood, who I know has been very popular in the marketplace. Will get some game time, I think, under Jesse Marsch. The one to keep your eye on is Cameron Archer at Villa. He's only 4.5. He's on loan in the Championship last season. He is a top talent. He's 20, really clinical marksman. Reminds me a little bit of a young Ian Wright. I think he's got the ability to challenge Watkins and Ings if he's not sent out on loan. So keep your eye on him.
Keeps being linked on loan to Watford, so I'm kind of going to hope that actually happens. If not, maybe I'll bring him into my FPL team. This does actually open up a really interesting debate and question. The captaincy, we've just spoken there, rounding off our positional chat, we've spoken there about so many good premium options. Before it was Mo Salah, set and forget pretty much, wasn't it, Jules? It's going to be a lot more varied this year, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you could have your strategy, which is to keep the same one, whether it's Salah or Kane or whoever you want, or rotate them. I can't remember who it was one day on the show last season or the season before saying that you should not captain someone who plays against the top 6 team. That's one strategy. Like I said, my app on my phone knows me so well that it's automatically Harry Kane if he's in the team that gets the captaincy. So, I don't think I'm going to change much.
Yeah, I think it will cause a lot of variation. Now, we're going to round off our chat today. We've tried to go through the positions as in-depth as we can there, but we could have frankly been talking all day. There's so many interesting price points and options in FPL this season, but I promised it at the beginning, I'm going to put you all on the spot now. And this is kind of in homage to Jules last season early on saying that Aaron Ramsdale was going to be brilliant. Aaron Ramsdale was brilliant. I'm thinking that he can't do it 2 seasons in a row. So I want predictions so that we can play them back, we can laugh at them, or maybe we can show that you do sometimes know what you're talking about, you guys. So let's start with who will be this season's top FPL point scorer. Sam.
I mean, is it really predictable of me if I sit here and say Harry Kane?
Yes.
I mean, I do think genuinely he could be. Had he performed as we saw at the end of last season, at the beginning, if he'd have started well, I think he would have been the top point scorer this time around as well. So I do think, as boring as it sounds, that it could be him this time.
I could have answered that for her. Adrian?
I don't want to go outside of Salah really because he's so proven, but I've just tipped up Haaland to score around 30 goals. So I'm going to say Erling Haaland. I think he's going to be phenomenal this season.
Jules?
I'll go for Mo Salah. I think the big factor for him and for Haaland, to be fair, is no World Cup for them, which is going to be huge, having that month off pretty much between mid-November to mid-December or end of November and to December, compared to all the ones who are going to go to Qatar, like Harry Kane, like Trent Alexander-Arnold, like all the others playing in the World Cup, potentially going really far as well, and then coming back in some sort of form. So we'll have to see. So I'll go for Salah.
None of you have really thought outside the box there, but that's kind of what I'd expect. You'd expect one of the premiums, wouldn't you? In contrast, who is currently flying under the radar when we're talking about FPL, but you think could be a great differential this season? Go on, Adrian, you're first.
Oh, I was hoping you
No one was making eye contact with me then because no one wanted me to come to them first.
This is such a difficult one. I think last season, Jared Bowen was the one that emerged. He came through, didn't he? Again, I'm going to sound a little bit biased here with my Arsenal background, but the one player that is making great strides every time I see him play is Martin Odegaard. Mm-hmm. He's available at 6.5. I think around 10 or 11% of players have picked him in their team. He is a guy that is capable of scoring 8 to 10 goals and maybe making 10 to 12 assists in a season. He hasn't produced those kind of numbers yet, but what I'm seeing from him, especially with Gabriel Jesus and the movement and the sharpness, I think he can be Arsenal's KDB. I really do. Oh. That's how good I think Martin Odegaard can be this season. So keep your eye on him.
Keep our eye on Martin Odegaard. Jules is now being presented with something that has Minnie Mouse on it. Jules's children have re-emerged. This is little Margot, I think. She's Margot. Very cute. That can't be Jules's kid. Jules, your differential, please.
My differential, I go for Anthony Martial. I really believe in him under Ten Hag for this season. I think he could be a really good pick at 7 million. So I go and he's French and from Paris as well. So it's a no-brainer.
The French tourism board been in touch once again. Sam, I've just seen you really ferociously reading your notes. I feel like you've got a few there that you're trying to pick from.
I was just kind of pondering on life really as I was waiting for you to come to me, because I think Grealish could be a really good pick this year. I think Leon Bailey. I also think we haven't mentioned him yet, but Marcus Rashford, I think he's going to have a phenomenal season this time around under Ten Hag.
Or Sancho.
Yeah, or Sancho. I think one of those will be the standout pick, and it's working out which one it's going to be now. But
come on, don't sit on that fence. I need one name.
Rashford. I think Rashford will have a great season.
Wow, okay, Marcus Rashford. He's certainly been saying all the right things during pre-season. He seems very happy under Erik Ten Hag. Now, Jules, I'm going to let you go because there's children surrounding you. There's people going in cupboards behind you. You've got a couple of days left of your holiday and we don't want to take up any more time. Keep checking those FPL drafts, though. Of course, we need you back next Thursday because we do still have one more podcast ahead of the big season start. That will be looking ahead specifically to game week 1. To everyone listening, a reminder there is still another podcast that we recorded earlier this week. That was our first episode, so you can still go back and take that in. And don't forget, if you haven't yet registered your team, you can do that on the Premier League app and on fantasy.premierleague.com. There's also plenty of brilliant content over there too, including experts revealing their teams. Thank you to everyone for listening. Thanks to Adrian, to Sam and to Jules for interrupting his holiday for us. And we'll be back with you next Thursday.